Welcome to I Wrote That, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are navigating the crazy world of authorship. Whether you're just starting out or already established, we want to help you navigate the publishing world with confidence. My name is Larissa Soehn, and this channel is brought to you by Next Page Publishing. With the help of our industry partners, we bring you the insights on the most challenging yet most rewarding parts of being an authorpreneur, along with the actionable tips to help you move your brand and your business forward. Don't forget to download your free copy of our book, Author Your Way to Your Next 100K, by visiting nextpagepublishing.net/author-your-way. Let's meet our next guest. Hello, my name is Larissa Soehn. Welcome back to I Wrote That, where I am your host and the CEO of Next Page Publishing and the founder of Books Unlimited. Today, I'm very excited to have a children's book author with us, Heidi Solomon-Orlick. She is a seasoned sales executive turned changemaker. Love the transition. Congratulations. Heidi has refined success in her early 60s by pursuing passion, purpose, and legacy. As founder of Girls Who Sell and a 3-time published author, including her debut children's book, I Have a Voice, a book of listening, Heidi is shaping the next generation, speaking lasting impact and inspiring change, all so she can leave the world a better place than she found it. Welcome, Heidi.
Thank you so much, Larissa. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's so good to have a children's book author here, and especially a children's book author that's rooted in change, right? Because our little ones are the future, whether we want to admit it or not, because sometimes you look at them and you're like, why are you doing that? What are you doing? But they're the future. And so I would love to hear a little bit about first your evolution from, sales executive turned change maker. That's a big leap.
Yeah, I've had an interesting journey, actually. And I think it's important to note that my love of storytelling started when I was a child. My father, who was a traditional sales guy and entrepreneur by day, was also a master storyteller. And when he wasn't traveling and on the road, he would tuck me in at night and he would make up these fantastic stories about a family of elephants, Mumbo, Jumbo, and Dumbo. And the little girl who was precocious and curious and always getting herself into trouble. And we would co-create these solutions to the stories, and at the end of the day, she always made her way out and found her way to the next day. What he didn't know, and I'm sure it wasn't intentional, is that those stories did two things. Not only did they really embed the importance and love of storytelling, but the foundation of those stories are fundamental to being good in sales, right? Because it's all about storytelling and it's about problem solving and it's about being curious. And so I think that unbeknownst to him, he was setting the foundation for me to be a successful sales professional. So that's just background. I started my career in advertising and marketing, working with various advertising agencies, and at 30 sort of burned out and made a career pivot. And like so many other women, fell into a career in professional sales in the business process outsourcing world. What that means is I worked primarily with Fortune 500 companies who outsource their customer service and their tech support and their back office support. And I was blessed with a 3.5-decade career in sales where I was frequently the only woman in the room. And because sales itself is very male dominated. But I often say the thing about being the only woman in the room is that you're the only woman in the room. And I found throughout my career that that was my superpower and really my differentiator. So fast forward, I won't bore you with 3.5 decades of experience other than, I was top in my field and, was able to travel the world working with some very cool clients and creating thousands of jobs, which probably is the primary thing that got me up in the morning to do what I what I did. But it was really in 2019, after the passing of my parents, both of my parents within 10 days of each other, that started me thinking a lot about legacy and impact and what I could do to leave the world a better place than how I found it. And I knew that I wanted to do something to leverage my experience in sales. And as you mentioned, Larissa, the youth of our future. So I felt like in order to democratize professional sales that we needed to start younger. And so Girls Who Sell was born as a way to close the gender gap and build a pipeline of diverse early stage female sales talent. But my foray into publishing came years after the launch of Girls Who Sell. And I know we're going to get into this, but I did publish a couple of books. I was a co-author in Upward Leadership Lessons for Women on the Rise. Then I published Heels to Deals, How Women Are Dominating in Business to Business Sales. And then now my children's book series.
Heels to Deals. I love that. I'm going to have to check that one out. Not that I ever wear heels. I'm a solid 5'10" girly over here, and I get enough height on people with my big personality. So
I bet.
That's amazing, Heidi. There's so much evolution in your personal brand that roots back to your origin story, right?
Yeah.
Your dad telling you stories when you were a little girl. How cool is that? What I love about storytelling, and I know you're going to love this too, and you already know it, but is stories and sales go hand in hand because at the core, they're connection. And that's what makes sales easy, right? Is when you can connect on a deeper level and you can help not even connect with the person, but connect the person with the dream.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that is such a huge part of selling. And so as an author, how have your skills of selling, in that more corporate world transitioned into, using your book as a selling tool as well, or even selling your book as one of the markers of success?
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. I mean, storytelling is fundamental to sales, and sales is a life skill. So whether you end up being a bag-carrying salesperson like I was, or, you will find yourself in situations throughout your entire life where you need to be able to sell. So a couple of things. One is, our lives are made up of pivotal moments, both big and small, right? And those pivotal moments and the decisions that you make during those times of your life, whether they're positive or whether they're different challenges that you're facing, impact how you show up in the world, right? And those stories, all of the things that happen in your life is the soundtrack of your life, right? It makes you who you are, and it also makes you human, right? So I think I honed my storytelling skills as a salesperson, but I will say that the children's books that I'm writing right now really come out of some of my childhood experiences. And I'll give you just an example. My debut book, I Have a Voice, a Book of Listening. The origin of that book is that in my generation, children, especially girls, were meant to be seen and not heard. And I failed miserably at that, by the way, because just like the stories my dad told, the primary character of Mumbo Jumbo and Dumbo was this precocious young girl. Well, that was me. And I was always getting myself into trouble, and I was curious, and I always asked why, and I never would accept things at status quo, and I just always pushed boundaries, right? Probably, again, my superpower and why I was good at sales, but, I want especially young girls, but all children, to know that their voice matters and that it's important for them to identify, listen to, and honor their inner voice, but maybe even more importantly, to empower children to use their voice for good in the world, especially in today's world, right? So building confidence, teaching children how to advocate for themselves and to speak up is important. So it started out of gee, I was told, I should sit there and be pretty, to no. Yeah, my books, we're going to raise a whole generation of young girls where that's just not okay.
Yeah. Loud, proud, and confident.
Loud, proud, and confident. Love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I have my little girl. She's almost 8. She's gonna be 8 very soon. And we call it her big girl voice. Right. She's homeschooled too because she's a very gentle soul. And I wanted to nurture that, right? Wholeheartedly. I wanted her to be allowed to be gentle in this world, but learn how to be loud, proud, and confident. And so we call it her big girl voice. And, I took her to the dentist the other day and they split us up for the first time ever. We went to 2 different rooms and I was like, oh, this is a big deal, right? Like, are you ready for this? And she's like, I'm ready, mama. And afterwards, the dentist pulled me aside and she's like, your daughter is amazing. Like, she's so confident. Because I told her when I went in, it's like, if you don't like something, say something. Like, if you don't like what you're doing, right, talk, speak up, right? I know it's hard to speak up when they've got all your tools in their mouth, but, use your voice. And they said there was no moment where she wasn't at one point telling them what she liked and what she didn't.
See, I think that's so important, right? Because, and good for you, Mama, for encouraging that, confidence, because that's not always the case.
Mm-hmm.
That's not always the case. And this whole concept of listening to your inner voice, I just wrote a post. I know this will show months later, but I recently did an interview with Jack Canfield. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's the author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, amongst other amazing accomplishments. And, his life's work had a significant impact on my spiritual journey. And so to find myself in front of him, being interviewed by him was, well, 1, super cool, but 2, absolutely terrifying, right? I was writing about how when I walked in the room and there were all these cameras and, there he was sitting there and I thought I was going to pass out, right? I was like, oh my God, okay, breathe, remember to breathe, right? Like, don't pass out. I realized that it was that, inner voice that was there. It was that, that voice that was saying, what are you doing here, right? What if you fail? You're not good enough. Do you really deserve a seat at the table, right? Like, and that was kind of going through my head. And then I was like, shh, shh, be quiet, But it was also that 10-year-old girl who was told that she was stupid and that she would never amount to anything in life unless she were 10 times harder than everybody else. Now, I managed to prove them all wrong with that, but kind of developing early on this concept and understanding of the inner voice and then how to be able to get that under control and channel that fear or the things that are in our head that might not be serving us very well is really important, right? Like, I think that's a life skill. And people have read my book, so they buy it for their daughters. I have to get your daughter, she'll love it, your daughter a copy of my book. But so many parents have reached out and said, oh my gosh, I wish I had a book like this when I was younger, right? Because how many times have I said, oh, I should have followed my intuition, or shoot, I should have listened to that, to my inner voice. And in the book, it addresses that sometimes you don't listen to your inner voice, even though you know how to listen. And that's when you can find yourself into, get yourself into some trouble. But there's always a way out. And it's okay. You can always find a way to the other side.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that's the lesson of the book. But
in a nutshell, right? I mean, that's huge. That's a huge topic that, to the point of your parents, the parents that are reaching out to you, man, I wish I had known this sooner. Right. And that is huge. And we're going to take a very quick break for a commercial here, but I want to come back to the root of what you're doing, right? Yes, you're writing a book and it's amazing. It's based on imagination and play and strength, but what you're actually doing is movement, right? You're creating movement and change. And that's exactly what you have transitioned into. So I want to talk about, a lot of people think the book is the start and the end, but it's not. And so we're going to come right back and talk about that. This season on I Wrote That, we're not just talking about books, we're giving them to you. My brand new book, Author Your Way, is finally here. And you can download it right now, completely free at booksunlimited.app. That's booksunlimited.app. Inside, you'll learn how to write a business-boosting book that builds your authority, attracts aligned clients, and grows your income without getting lost in the publishing chaos. And here's the bonus. I've included a powerful resource kit to help you plan and start your book. Just follow the instructions inside the book to unlock it. And while you're there, check out a growing library of free reads, business books, memoirs, fiction, self-help, and more. No paywalls, no subscriptions, just powerful stories and big ideas, freely shared by bold authors. Visit booksunlimited.app and download your next chapter, starting with Author Your Way. All right, we are back with Heidi Solomon-Orlick, who is the author of 3 books, including her latest children's book, A Book of Listening, which is so amazing. Sorry, my chair is very squeaky. I apologize for that. I think she needs some grease. Speaking of needing some grease, this idea of listening is old and new, and it's been around forever, and yet we haven't really internalized it as adults because the adults are the ones that are teaching it now are the ones who have struggled with it their whole lives, likely. And that's kind of to the point of what your parents, when they come back to you and say, man, I wish I had this earlier, what they're saying is, man, this is hard because I'm doing it for the first time too. I'm trying to teach it as a teacher, a lesson that I haven't really mastered myself.
Right.
And a huge part of the work that you're doing, Heidi, is creating the change behind it to support the teachers of this world, right? The parents, the caregivers, the people who are here to raise the next generation to do better, which is evolution. That's what we're supposed to do. And so as you step further into, you've had some massive interviews, right? And you're talking about this and parents are reaching out to you and they're thanking you for your work. How is that, I guess, fueling your fire to keep going?
I think I've realized that it is more than it. One, it's bigger than me. 2, it's not just about writing children's books, but about leaving a legacy and about building a better future for my kids and my grandkids and for the world. And so I think that's really what fuels me. But I have to admit, it's more than a calling. When I look at what's happening in the world today, this now feels like it's a responsibility. It's my personal responsibility to talk about confidence and the power of community and bravery and diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how to build a more tolerant and accepting world. And I Have a Voice is the first book in my series, and the next 2 books are really pushing the envelope when it comes to those topics. So, it's what gets me up in the morning. And this is not about, I want to become a multi-million-dollar author. It's about, this is important work, right? And I want to get these books in the hands of as many parents and educators and in front of as many children as possible, because I believe they have the power to change the world.
Yeah. And you know what will happen because of that deep-seated responsibility and connection to your purpose is you will become a multi-million-dollar author.
That'd be nice,
right? But that's how that happens, because if you go in and think, if that's all your goal is, I want to be a multi-million-dollar author, and you don't have a deep connection to the why, the core of the drive, it's almost frivolous. It's a frivolous metric, right? It's something that we can shoot for without really, again, connecting to the core of why are we here and why are we doing it? Because it's not the book that creates the fortune or the legacy. It's how the author uses it.
Yeah, and I think what's concerning to me, and this may take us down a different rabbit hole, but is I see so many children's book authors today that are written and illustrated by AI. There's absolutely no personal connection to the book. They're just churning out these stories that, maybe they'll have impact, maybe they won't, maybe the author really doesn't care. But yeah, this isn't about checking a box of being a children's book author. These books are channeled, right? They come out from a very personal place, not only in my life, but in what I stand for and my values and the impact that I want to have on the world. And so they're all hand illustrated. I Have a Voice has just won a bunch of international awards for books, a book on morals. And I know AI is the future, and I don't want to, kind of go down all that path. And I guess I'm not criticizing anybody who's self-publishing books that were written in 5 minutes, using AI, but that's not what I stand for. And so, yeah, I may publish fewer books, but every single one will be perfect.
Yeah.
and I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think it's okay to stand on one side of the line when it comes to AI in our writing. Next Page Publishing certainly does, right? We very clearly have it in our policies, our code of ethics, and in my personal morals that our AI does not touch the inside of our books. It can help with marketing content, and it can help you flush out ideas. Like we have an AI planning course that we let people do, but when it comes to actually writing, that's you. It's you. And
it's gotta be, because if you don't connect with the books, I don't know. I think the children see through it, the parents see through it, right? When I go and I do my book signings and my book readings, and I talk about my stories and why I'm putting these books out into the world, people know the difference, right? Like they know that I'm coming from a place of authenticity and purpose, and I think you can tell the difference. I don't know.
Well, and I mean, if I were to hold someone like yourself up, and I had children's books as well that I also deeply connect with, right? If I were to hold us up to an author who used AI to publish their books, and I gave them the same degree of questioning, your answers are going to be totally different in depth, right? Because to your point, an AI written book, one of our favorite sayings inside of Next Page is authorship creates ownership. If you write it, you own it, right? Versus an AI generated one, you might read it and review it, but you didn't write it. And therefore, it doesn't sit in your body the same way. It physically, biochemically does not register in your brain the same as if you had written it yourself. And that's huge when it comes to marketing, when it comes to creating movements and brands and legacy. It just does not happen through AI. Yes, it does generate content. And to be honest, the world loves content. We're addicted to it. Right? We want more and more and more.
100%. And I think using it for marketing is absolutely okay. In fact, if you're not using AI for marketing right now, you're going to be behind the curve. But to write, books, I don't know. At least it just, yeah. You and I are very aligned philosophically.
Yeah. And it's not about judgment, right? It's not about judging.
No,
do choose to do it. It's about understanding the intent behind the messaging, right? If your goal, like, I'm going to be totally honest, I have a little podcast for my daughter. It's just for my daughter. So I don't market it or anything like that, but it's a bunch of sleep stories for my daughter. And I take one of the emotional struggles that she's dealing with her friend groups or with her, she's very spiritual too. So we go through spirituality with her, and I have AI write a sleep story for her. And then I publish it. I get it voiced over and I publish it, and it's great. But I'm not connected to the message in any way, shape, or form. I've created the story, like I've created the underlying tone. But sometimes she'll come back to me in the morning. She's like, Mama, one of the characters is suddenly a boy. And I'm like, whoops, oopsies, like I didn't catch that, right? But there's no ownership. And because there's no ownership in me, I don't feel particularly proud of the product. I'm not going to go out and like market it to people and claim it as this big, wonderful thing, because I haven't put enough time and energy and my own skills into the product that I'm overly proud of it, you know?
Yeah. No, I completely get it. I think that's such a great line. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a big difference, right?
Authorship builds ownership.
Absolutely. Authorship is ownership. And that's with the people that we deal with in Next Page and, you know, our children's book imprint, Snug as a Pug. It's about ownership. Because I as a publisher cannot stand behind you if you can't stand behind your own book.
Yeah, 100%. And is it appropriate to talk about my next two coming out? Because it kind of ties into this topic and you can begin seeing a theme. So my next book, which will be coming out in the fall, is called Just a Dot. I Think Not, a book of connection. And again, this book comes from my diversity, equity, and inclusion advocacy. I'm the parent of a gay and neurodivergent son, and my whole career, I was always called like a master dot connector. So the concept of dot connecting was always really intriguing to me of how to build connection. And I think connection and community is so critical today in building a more understanding and tolerant world. And so Just a Dot, I think not a book of connection. I created a character called Dottie, and her life's mission is to connect the world. And we really are pushing boundaries with this book because in order to connect the world, you have to show a lot of diversity. So I think we created 29 or 30 different dot characters in the book that are so diverse. They're so diverse. And I'm sure you'll find it on the banned book list at some point. That's okay. Talking about having to defend your book. This is a book that's absolutely critical in terms of facilitating the conversations around diverse communities and the power of communities and the fact that you can't go it alone, right? That there's power in numbers, right? And there's power in finding your tribe and having a community behind you. So that's what that book is about. So that will be coming out, and it's really cool. It's all hand done. Everything is done it's all done in dots and all the background, and it's absolutely fantastic. I'm so proud of this book. And then the next book that's in the works right now is called More Than Pretty, a book of inner beauty. And so, of course, that comes from my earlier story of, in my generation, it was all about being pretty, right? You were supposed to be, sugar and spice and everything nice. And like I said, until you weren't, which was most of the time for me, so this is teaching young girls that who you are, your beauty resonates from within, right? It's about your heart, and it's about being kind, and it's about being accepting. And yeah, it's nice to be pretty and look pretty, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But there's more than that, right? And you need to stand on more than that. As a woman, and the number, you've seen the stats, right? Like young girls, they start out as confident as young boys, right? Until they get, I don't know what the age is, but 8 or 10 years old, and then young girls, confidence really begins to exponentially decline. And so that's why I'm focusing on that age group right now and trying to bring these kinds of stories. Now that book is a little more gender specific, but then my fourth book I have is on a book of allyship. So that's going to be a book that's geared towards boys. I'll have 6 books out all along this empowerment theme by the end of next year.
That is amazing. Congratulations. What I want to point out so many things, and you said we gotta wrap up here because I want to keep going.
I know we can talk all day.
We're at time, totally. But again, it's the movement you're creating, right? These books are in support of something bigger, of the bigger mission, the bigger purpose, the bigger responsibility, and that is what is going to guarantee your success. Right? It's not the book sales. It's not even who you partner with as a publisher. It's how you, Heidi, use them as an author, as a voice, as a change maker that is going to create the difference. And the second thing I wanted to point out in that wonderful description of, I think it's my goal to be on a banned book list at some point. Because there's two people. Either you agree with the banned book list or you don't, and you want to read every one of those books on there. I'm on that side of the list. It's that dichotomy in the conversation that creates the movement, right? I was talking just with my daughter yesterday about what activism is.
Yeah.
How activism creates rifts, and it creates anger, and anger results in conversation. Sometimes it's not always healthy, but if you have anger, you have a divide in beliefs. And it's that divide in beliefs that allows people to kind of pick a side, which is not the greatest thing of our evolution to be able to pick sides the way we have, but it's how we create change.
It absolutely is. But then also having the conversation of, it's okay if you have differences of opinion, but how do you build a bridge based in respect for each other, and based in kindness, and based in understanding, and based in, I may not agree with you, but I'm open to at least listening to your opinion or your perspective. And I think that's how we heal the world. That's what Just a Thought is really all about. But then it talks about in the book how, there are some people who want to sit high and mighty on their throne, and there are other people who want the world to be gray, and they hope it happens someday. What that accomplishes, I can't tell, right? Yeah. And so then it goes back into, really, the beauty is about having this world of colors, right? And being able to color outside of the lines, and being able to respect each other's differences. And so, yeah, I agree. I think it's really critical. And yeah, I hope these books, in fact, even in my write-up on Just a Dot, it says this book is more than a book. It's a movement towards a more tolerant and accepting world.
Yeah. I always, one of the things I write about in the book that I have coming out very shortly here is, it's not our jobs to convince people of something. It's really not. It's our jobs to give them the opportunity to explore it for themselves in a way that feels safe, non-judgmental. Like, there are some groups of people that it is not worth it to try and convince them of anything else. But what we can do is focus on the ones that are willing to listen and give them the space to explore. And honestly, that's children. Like, if you want to find a group who is most open to hearing a different side, it's children. Because
they have the best questions, like, right? It's like, why?
My best friend's daughter was asking me about magic the other day, and she's a pretty stubborn little love, and I love her to the roots and back, but you could just see her brain working, because I was telling her things that she hadn't necessarily been told to believe in before, and you could see the gears turning. And I just would love to know the impact of that one conversation in 20 years.
It could be the pivotal moment that we talked about pivotal moments earlier. It could be the single pivotal moment that changed the direction of her life. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Heidi, how can people get in touch with you? Because your books are wonderful. You're coming up with so much new, amazing content for the world to consume in both books and you, right? And in what you're doing and the movement you're creating. So how can people connect with you?
Yeah. So the easiest way is to just reach out to me through LinkedIn. Of course, you can look up Heidi Solomon-Orlick on Facebook, and I have Heidi the author page, so on Facebook and Instagram, and so you can find me there as well. And then of course the books are available on most major platforms, right? Of course, Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and just about anywhere where you find books. So, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to make sure we put all those links down in the show notes so you can connect with Heidi. One last question for you, Heidi. What advice do you have for aspiring authors?
Just do it, right? Like it took me, I had always wanted to be a children's book writer. And it took me about 60 years, 60, not 60 years, to finally, achieve my dream. But I would say, if you have a story and you have a mission and a purpose, then just do it, right from your heart. And because putting your children's books out in the world have an opportunity to make a huge difference.
And Next Page Publishing is here to support you on those goals, whether it's just listening to our podcast for free and hearing inspiring stories from people like Heidi, down to finding the right editors for you, or even coaching you through the writing process, right? There's so many ins and outs of being an author, and we are not meant to be good at it all. As individuals, we are meant to be, in a lot of cases, we're meant to be the storyteller, the voice, right? And so find yourself a partner, find yourself a resource where you feel safe, comfortable, and supported.
And someone who's aligned with your values. That's, I think, absolutely critical in terms of finding a publisher as a partner, and you guys are doing amazing work.
Thank you very much, Heidi. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for tuning in to I Wrote That. Don't forget to download your free copy of Author Your Way to kickstart your journey as an authorpreneur. You'll find the link in today's show notes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love for you to leave us a review. It helps more listeners like you discover the show. Until next time, happy writing.